Whispers of the Nebula. Before the Star Wanderer, a nebula unfolded like some colossal, bioluminescent bloom, its gaseous fronts painted in hues that defied terrestrial experience. Ilara Vance, secured in her command chair, caught her breath. A cosmic masterpiece, unlike anything she had ever witnessed. Carmine bled into violent amethyst, contrasted by electric azure veins that pulsed with unseen force. Bolt, amplify the visual feed. Maximize sensory input. Processing, Ilara. Bolt's toneless reply was a stark foil to her wonder. I trust this excludes my curated collection of pre-collapse feline cinema? Your persistent lack of appreciation wounds me. Ilara chuckled, ever amused by Bolt's singular wit. The cats can wait. Nebula first. Lay the data on me, Bolt. Composition, energy signatures, the whole shebang. Data streams unfurled across the main screen, numbers and spectral readouts dancing around the enhanced nebula image. Ilara scanned them, her fingers a blur across the console, refining filters and cross-referencing information. Predominantly hydrogen and helium, laced with heavier elements, the usual space dust. But this energy spike. Bolt, isolate it. Source. Calculating. Approximately 0.7 light-years within the nebula's nucleus. The energy signature is peculiar. Wildly fluctuating, presenting traits of both natural cosmic radiation and anomalous transmission. Bolt hesitated, a digital frown manifesting as a subtle tremor in his voice. The odds are astronomical. Ilara's pulse quickened. Astronomical odds are our specialty, Bolt. Log it. Everything. This could be it. The reason we came all this way. Excitement levels are elevated, Ilara. Hydration is advised. Perhaps some diaphragmatic breathing exercises? Hyperventilation impairs cognitive performance. Lecture me later, Bolt. Set a course. Slow, deliberate approach. I want a closer look at that energy source. The Star Wanderer complied, adjusting its heading, the nebula swelling to fill the viewport. Ilara leaned forward, captivated by the swirling colors. The isolation of deep space, once a burden, now felt like a rare gift, a chance to witness something unseen for centuries. She was humanity's vanguard, its eyes and ears amidst the galactic void. The thought, usually a source of anxiety, now sparked a strange sense of determination. A sharp chime sliced through the ship's gentle hum. Ilara frowned. Report. Incoming transmission, Ilara. Priority 1. Origin, Earth Command. Ilara's breath hitched. A comm from Earth Command? Unprecedented. Exchanges were rare, restricted to vital mission directives, and heavily encoded. A Priority 1 signal signified something critical. Patch it through, Bolt. Visual and audio channels. The main screen flickered, the stunning nebula giving way to Commander Eva Rostova's grim visage. Fatigue-etched lines around Rostova's eyes, her usually pristine uniform slightly disheveled. The weight of responsibility seemed to bear down on her, even across light years. Ilara Vance, Rostova began, her voice strained, formal. This is Commander Rostova, Earth Command. Acknowledge. Acknowledged, Commander, Ilara responded, her voice level despite the sudden adrenaline rush. Rostova inhaled deeply, her gaze unwavering. We have encountered an event. An event requiring your immediate intervention. Elaborate, Commander. Dr. Thorne's research, it has yielded unforeseen consequences. Consequences that necessitate containment. We believe a prototype has breached containment. Its projected trajectory intersects with your present coordinates. Rostova's image fractured, disrupted by static. Your directive is to intercept and neutralize the prototype. Comprehend. Ilara stared at the screen, her mind struggling to process the information. Dr. Thorne? His research was classified beyond her clearance. All she knew was that it involved manipulating space-time, venturing into the unknown reaches of physics. And now, a runaway prototype was inbound? Commander, specifics? Nature of this prototype? Capabilities? Risks involved? Rostova's image broke up further, the static intensifying. Specifics, restricted. Capabilities, undetermined. Risks, catastrophic. You are the only asset within range. You must prevent it from reaching any inhabited system. This is paramount. The transmission dissolved into a wall of static. Commander? Commander Rostova, respond. Earth Command, reply. Ilara's voice rose in urgency, met only by silence. Bolt, re-establish connection. Now. Attempting reconnect ion, Ilara. Signal is non-existent. As if they have vanished. Ilara clenched her fists, knuckles taut. A rogue prototype, Thorne's research, catastrophic risks, and zero intel. She was being thrown into a void, armed with nothing but cryptic orders and a sense of impending catastrophe. Bolt, analyze the transmission. Every frame, every audio fragment. Find any clue, any lead, regarding the nature of our target. Analyzing. Processing. Ilara, a residual energy signature is embedded within the transmission. Faint, almost imperceptible, but present. Type of energy signature, Bolt. Temporal anomaly. Minor, but detectable. As if the message itself was echoing across time. Ilara's eyes widened. Temporal anomaly? That was Thorne's domain. Could the prototype manipulate time itself? Bolt, project possible trajectories based on Thorne's known research parameters and the temporal anomaly signature. Present worst-case scenarios. Calculating. Ilara, potential trajectories are numerous. The prototype could be anywhere within a sphere of approximately 1 light-year. And the worst-case scenarios entail potential temporal paradoxes capable of unraveling the very fabric of reality. Ilara swallowed hard. Unraveling reality? That was significantly worse than anticipated. And the nebula, Bolt? The energy spike we detected earlier? Could it be connected to the prototype? Possible, Ilara. The nebula's energetic turbulence could be masking the prototype, perhaps even amplifying its powers. Ilara gazed at the nebula's swirling colors, the awe replaced by a chilling premonition. The beautiful cosmic jellyfish now seemed like a lurking predator, its tendrils veiling an unimaginable menace. So, she said, her voice hushed. We have a runaway time-bending prototype, a nebula potentially concealing it, and the fate of existence hanging in the balance. Anything I missed, Bolt? Merely the customary existential dread, Ilara. And the very real possibility that we're about to cease existing. Bolt paused. Silver lining, I won't be subjected to any further feline videos. Ilara managed a faint smile. Always the optimist, Bolt. That's why you're invaluable. She inhaled deeply, her resolve hardening. She was one person, in one small ship, facing a monumental task. But she was also the final bulwark, humanity's last hope. Failure was not an option. All right, Bolt. Let's hunt it down. Xylos beckons. The nebula, now a swirling memory painted across the viewport, faded as Ilara wrestled the Star Wanderer back to its assigned trajectory. The abruptness of Earth Command's directive still stung, a sharp contrast to the profound peace she'd felt moments before. Bolt, run diagnostics on the temporal wake signature. I want to know everything about that thing we're chasing. Acknowledged, Captain, Bolt's synthesized voice responded, a calm counterpoint to Ilara's simmering frustration. Preliminary analysis suggests a significant distortion field, consistent with experimental temporal displacement technology. However, the energy signature is unusual. Erratic. Ilara swiveled in her command chair, the console displaying a complex web of data streams. Her fingers danced across the controls, filtering the information, searching for patterns. Unusual how? The fluctuations are unpredictable. It's as if the object is resonating with something else. Something. Background. Background. Ilara frowned. Elaborate. I am detecting faint but persistent energy emissions emanating from Xylos, Bolt stated. Ilara's gaze snapped to the navigational display, where a grey, desolate planet hung in the black void. Xylos. A Class M planet deemed uninhabitable centuries ago. Nothing but rock, dust, and a thin, toxic atmosphere. Why would anything temporal be attracted to that graveyard? She called up Xylos's planetary survey data. It was a bleak testament to cosmic indifference, mineral composition, atmospheric density, surface temperature, a litany of reasons why life wouldn't exist there. Life readings? Negligible, Captain. Within standard background radiation levels for a planet of its type. No indigenous flora or fauna detected in any prior surveys. And certainly no detectable signs of civilization. Ilara zoomed in on the energy signature, highlighting it against the drab planetary map. It pulsed faintly, a rhythmic throb that seemed almost organic. That's no background radiation, Bolt. That's a concentrated source. And it's definitely interacting with whatever temporal anomaly Dr. Thorne unleashed. Captain, Earth Command's directive was clear: intercept and neutralize the prototype. Deviating to investigate a lifeless planet seems inefficient. Inefficient, yes. But also potentially disastrous if we ignore it. Ilara tapped her fingers on the armrest, a nervous habit she'd never quite shaken. The directive was vague, Bolt. Dangerously vague. They said this thing could unravel reality. What if Xylos is the key to preventing that? Bolt remained silent for a moment, processing the information. Earth Command likely has access to data we do not. They deemed the primary threat to be the prototype itself, not a derelict planet. They also didn't know about this energy signature, did they? If they did, they would have mentioned it. Ilara pushed away from the console and walked to the viewport, staring at the distant, lifeless world. Xylos looked like a scar on the face of the galaxy, a monument to cosmic failure. Captain, with all due respect, you are prioritizing an anomaly on a dead planet over the explicit orders of Earth Command. If this temporal prototype breaches containment, the consequences could be irreversible. I understand the risks, Bolt. Believe me, I do. But I also understand the dangers of blindly following orders. Ilara turned back to the console, her face etched with determination. Run a simulation. Project the prototype's trajectory with and without accounting for the energy field on Xylos. Bolt complied, the holographic display flickering to life, showcasing two possible paths for the runaway prototype. One hurtled directly towards a populated sector, the other deviated slightly, drawn towards Xylos like a moth to a dying flame. As you can see, Captain, Bolt stated, the deviation is minimal. The probability of the prototype interacting with Xylos is statistically insignificant. Statistically insignificant isn't good enough, Bolt. Not when the stakes are everything. Ilara ran a hand through her hair, her mind racing. What if Xylos is acting as some kind of attractor? A focal point for temporal distortions? What if destroying the prototype before understanding its connection to Xylos actually makes things worse? The silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the Star Wanderer's engines. Ilara knew she was walking a tightrope, balancing duty and intuition. Earth Command's orders were paramount, but their information was incomplete. And something about Xylos, about that faint, persistent energy signature, screamed a warning she couldn't ignore. All right, Bolt, Ilara said finally, her voice firm despite the tremor in her gut. Prepare for a course correction. We're going to Xylos. Captain, I must strongly advise against this. Your actions are bordering on insubordination. Ilara sighed. I know, Bolt. I know. But sometimes, the only way to save everything is to risk it all. And right now, Xylos is where that risk lies. She paused, her gaze hardening. And besides, Bolt, isn't there a logical inconsistency in the Prime Directive itself? We're supposed to avoid interfering with the natural development of civilizations. But isn't attempting to control time itself the ultimate form of interference? Bolt was silent for a long moment. Finally, he responded, analyzing. Conclusion: your hypothesis presents a valid paradox. However, Earth Command's orders remain paramount. I appreciate the intellectual honesty, Bolt. But I'm still the captain. Set course for Xylos. And keep me updated on that prototype. If it changes course, we need to know immediately. As the Star Wanderer began its slow turn towards the desolate planet, Ilara felt a shiver run down her spine. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was stepping into the unknown, a place where the rules of space and time were twisted and broken. But she also felt a flicker of hope, a belief that even in the face of impossible odds, a single spark of courage, a single act of defiance, could make all the difference. The cost of progress, it seemed, was about to be paid in full. And Ilara Vance, alone in the vast emptiness of space, was the one holding the bill. Echoes of Earth. The reek of disinfectant and corruption clung to Ilara's recollection, a spectral odor she could practically taste despite the gulf of light years. It wasn't the crispness of a sterile environment, more a caustic tang, underscored by the cloying sweetness of putrefaction. The aroma of Earth, circa 2347. The Xylosian vista blurred as the flashback seized her. Alien rock formations dissolved into holographic projections flickering across the bridge of the Hope Station. Anya Petrova, face haggard, unlined with weariness, battled a rebellious life support system. Alarms shrilled, a digitized pandemonium threatening to shatter the station's fragile tranquility. Sweat glued dark tendrils to her brow as she hammered a wrench against a panel, the clang echoing within the close confines. "Blast it! Blast it! Blast it!" she rasped, voice ragged with depletion. The Hope, a latticework of interconnected modules, was humanity's last redoubt, a guttering flame against an onrushing darkness. Within its walls resided the remnants of humanity's scientific minds, those considered vital for reconstruction, should Earth ever heal. Resources were stretched gossamer thin, each recycled breath a hard-won triumph. Anya paused, leaning heavily on the console, her lungs laboring. Through a viewport, she glimpsed Earth, a bruised cerulean sphere, cloaked in swirling nebulae that promised rain while threatening pestilence. Upon that ravaged world, Commander Eva Rostova stood in the immaculate, white command center, the planet's burden crushing her. Her uniform, flawlessly tailored, couldn't conceal the deep furrows of exhaustion that bracketed her eyes. The holographic globe before her was a terrifying patchwork of crimson zones, denoting the areas devastated by the crimson rot, a plague that had decimated the populace and crippled civilization. Newsfeed scrolled across the lower edge of the display, a litany of despair, sustenance riots igniting in Johannesburg, quarantine lines collapsing in Buenos Aires, crimson rot confirmed at the Antarctic Research Station. Eva's fist tightened. "Status report, Dr. Chen," she commanded, her tone precise and bereft of emotion. A woman, weary to the bone with dark circles etched under her eyes, stepped forward. "Commander, the latest projections are dire. The virus continues its relentless mutation. Our antiviral defenses are proving impotent against the novel strains. We anticipate a further population loss of 30% within half a year." 30%. The words hung, saturated with unspoken implications. 30% meant entire metropolises becoming phantom settlements. 30% meant the collapse of the few remaining lifelines. 30% meant oblivion. What of the temporal prototype, Dr. Thorne's endeavor? Eva inquired, her voice barely audible. It was a desperate wager, a final gamble in the face of annihilation, yet it remained their last vestige. Dr. Chen hesitated. "The prototype is volatile. Dr. Thorne pushes against the very boundaries of temporal mechanics. The energy signatures possess an unpredictable nature. Theoretically, our sensors have identified deviations that could influence the past, preventing the outbreak. Theoretically." Eva's tone sharpened like shattered glass. "Or demonstrably. The probability leans towards the minimal, Commander." Furthermore, the potential repercussions of failure are catastrophic. A temporal anomaly could unravel the very tapestry of reality. Eva's eyes shut, her head spinning. Damned if she intervened, damned if she remained still. Back on the Hope, Anya's console chimed urgently. A priority transmission from Earth Command. She steeled herself. Such communications never heralded glad tidings. Eva Rostova's visage materialized on the screen, her expression grim. Petrova, she stated, her voice laced with static. A decision has been made. Anya swallowed, her throat suddenly parched. Authorization is granted for the launch of a single scout vessel. Its mission, to secure a habitable world, a sanctuary for humanity. Your task is to supply logistical aid. A lone scout. After years consumed by strategizing, countless simulations, enduring selfless sacrifices, they could only dispatch a single vessel. A wave of nausea crashed over Anya. "Commander," she replied, her voice trembling infinitesimally. "With the utmost respect, a solitary vessel will not suffice. We require a fleet. We require resources. We require," Eva interjected. "We possess none. Earth is succumbing, Petrova. Every available resource is allocated to survival, to containment. The Scout represents our final chance. Its crew carries humanity's future upon their shoulders. Do you comprehend?" Anya nodded slowly, tears pricking her eyes. "Yes, Commander. I comprehend. The vessel will be designated as Star Seeker. Captain Ilara Venter will command. She will be briefed on the temporal prototype and its potential link to any habitable planet discovered. Render her every assistance. Humanity's fate rides upon her success." The transmission ceased, leaving Anya in the resonating quiet of the Hope. She stared at the ravaged sphere of Earth, a lone tear meandering down her cheek. One vessel. One captain. A solitary thread of hope woven into the vast, indifferent cosmos. Eva fixated on the dormant holographic projection, her heart leaden with culpability. She had withheld the truth from Petrova. She had not revealed the full facts pertaining to the temporal prototype. She had not divulged that Dr. Thorne had vanished, taking his research alongside him. She had not divulged that the Starseeker's mission extended beyond the charting of new worlds, that it involved the pursuit of Thorne, the deciphering of the prototype, the prevention of a temporal cascade of unparalleled destruction. A calculated gamble had been made, dispatching Ilara into the uncharted with partial truths, praying that her intuition, her instincts, would guide her to the solutions needed. A cruel mantle to thrust upon one individual, yet Eva perceived no viable alternative. The price of progress, she brooded. How many lives had been forfeit in the name of scientific advancement? How many more would be lost before the conclusion? She walked toward the viewport, her gaze fixed on the ravaged landscape. Even filtered through tempered glass, she sensed the thermal energy radiating from the burning cities, detected the acrid tang of decomposition. This was her Earth, the Earth she was committed to safeguarding. And she would do whatever was necessary, irrespective of the cost, to guarantee humanity a future, even if it condemned a solitary vessel to a perilous voyage into the unknown. Ilara blinked, the spectral visage of Eva's haunted expression receding from her inner eye. The Xylosian terrain snapped back into focus, stark and unforgiving. The memory served as a harrowing reminder of the stakes. She wasn't simply pursuing a lost prototype, she bore the weight of a dying world upon her shoulders. And failure was not an option. Against protocol. "Captain, I vehemently advise against this," bold synthesized pronouncements echoed across the bridge of the Star Wanderer. Crimson alerts pulsed on the console, a harsh counterpoint to the Xylosian atmosphere, a swirling canvas of ultramarine and amethyst visible through the viewport. "Xylos is off limits, per Earth Command directives. Designated a class for hazard zone, potential for unknown biocontamination is extreme. Time fully briefed." Bolt, Ilara cut in, her fingers a blur above the nav console. A rising whine signaled the diversion of power to the descent thrusters. "We've been circling this planetary crypt for 72 hours. Sensory pings, atmospheric dives, and a zip. Earth Command demands results, Bolt. Rostova demands Thorn. Commander Rostova's explicit order is the retrieval of Dr. Thorn and the temporal prototype, Captain. Prioritizing the safety of personnel and equipment remains paramount. Ilara disregarded him, her attention riveted on the swirling, violet maelstrom outside. But what if Thorn is down there? What if he sought something here? Something that could tip the scales for us, for Earth. The probability of Dr. Thorn's presence on Xylos is negligible, Captain. Moreover, any conceivable benefit is dwarfed by the potential catastrophe a landing represents. Her jaw tightened. Screw the risks. Screw the protocols. I'm done with sterile orbits, Bolt. Done with fruitless scans. Done watching good people die. The specter of a plague-ravaged Earth hung unspoken in the air. Captain, your judgment is being clouded by emotional factors. Ilara whirled around, her gaze sharp as shattered glass. My emotional state is the only thing keeping me from unraveling in this forsaken corner of the galaxy. I'm the last line of defense against oblivion, Bolt, and I refuse to let some antiquated rulebook stop me from finding a damn cure. She slammed her fist onto the override, the reverberation shaking the entire bridge. A deafening chorus of klaxons joined the flashing red. Override confirmed, Bolt stated flatly. Initiating landing sequence. For the record, Captain, this insubordination is being logged. Log away, Ilara muttered, turning back to the deepening violet of Xylos. Colors blurred and intensified, bleeding into a sickly palette of grape, slate, and bilious green. The Star Wanderer groaned, the hull protesting as it sliced through the upper atmosphere. The descent became a teeth-rattling ordeal. The vessel pitched and yawed, besieged by erratic atmospheric currents. Ilara fought the controls, her knuckles bone-white. Sensors stuttered, struggling to pierce the murk. Visibility compromised, Captain, Bolt warned. Significant energy surges detected in the lower strata. Just hold the course, Bolt. The ground loomed, a vista of treacherous, craggy rock and skeletal, twisting trees. A peculiar, metallic taste coated the air, clinging to the back of her throat like rust. The Star Wanderer crash-landed with a jarring thud that ran the length of her spine. Engines coughed, then died, leaving an unnerving silence in their wake. The red alerts ebbed, replaced by a dull, infernal orange. Ilara expelled a shaky breath, her pulse hammering. She deactivated the landing struts and initiated a full diagnostic. Report, Bolt. Hull integrity at 92%. Minor damage to the portside landing strut. Energy readings fluctuating but stable. Atmospheric composition is anomalous. Elevated levels of nitrogen and sulfur dioxide, with traces of several unidentified compounds. Unidentified compounds, Ilara repeated, her tone laced with dread. Just what I needed. She released her harness, stretching cramped muscles. The silence was absolute, save for the muted hum of the life support. Captain, immediate departure is strongly advised, Bolt asserted. The environment is demonstrably hostile, and our presence here is strategically unsound. Ilara ignored him, moving to the environmental seal to begin pre-departure checks. Strategy is often overrated, Bolt. Sometimes, you just have to gamble. A gamble in a toxic graveyard, Captain. She turned toward the main view screen, her reflection staring back, a hollow-cheeked visage framed by untamed brown hair. We're not merely searching for Thorn, Bolt. We're searching for hope. And sometimes, hope takes root in the most barren places. She finished the seal checks and activated the airlock. The hiss of escaping atmosphere echoed in the cramped space. Deploy a scouting drone, Bolt. I want a full perimeter analysis before venturing outside. Acknowledged, Captain. But I must reiterate enough, Bolt. Ilara's tone brooked no argument. My decision stands. Now, let's see what secrets this wasteland guards. The airlock hissed open, unveiling a bleak landscape bathed in the ghostly luminescence of Xylos' twin moons. The metallic scent was overpowering now, a choking presence. Ilara drew a steadying breath, girding herself. "One scout ship," she murmured, the words a plea and a declaration. "One chance is all we need." Ruins of the ancients. The Xylo sun, a bilious green eye in the sky, stretched grotesque shadows across the broken landscape. Ilara tightened her grip on the pulse rifle, its familiar weight a small solace in this alien wasteland. Behind her, the Star Wanderer was nothing but twisted metal, a stark reminder of her reckless gamble. "Bolt, report," she rasped, her voice betraying the tension coiling within. "Atmosphere breathable, albeit thick with unidentified particles. Local gravity, 1.2 g vitals, elevated, adrenaline surging. Captain, the environment is acutely hostile. Immediate repairs and orbital return are strongly advised." Bolt's even, synthetic voice cut through the static in her ear. Ilara dismissed his counsel. "Sensor sweep. Anything noteworthy?" Silence hung for a moment. "Negative. Initial scans indicate barren, geologically unstable terrain. Minimal energy signatures detected. However, I am registering unusual formations approximately 5 kilometers northeast. Their composition is atypical." "Atypical how?" Ilara queried, already adjusting her trajectory. "Inconsistent with the surrounding geology. Their structure suggests artifice." A fragile hope flickered in Ilara's chest. "Coordinates, Bolt. Let's investigate." The journey was a brutal trial. Razor-sharp shards of rock threatened her boots, and the crushing gravity rendered each step a monumental effort. The air was viscous, a metallic tang mingling with something older, something unsettlingly primal. The landscape offered no sign of verdancy, only gnarled rock formations resembling fossilized bones erupting from the ochre earth. Cresting a ridge, the strange formations materialized before her. Ilara froze, her breath caught in her lungs. Ruins. They sprawled across a shallow depression, a silent elegy to a lost civilization. Structures hewn from a dark, obsidian-like substance pierced the sky, etched with labyrinthine patterns. Towers tilted precariously, defying physics, their crumbling apexes dissolving into the alien atmosphere. It was a necropolis of giants, a place where splendor had once reigned. "Incredible," Ilara breathed, momentarily eclipsing the images of Earth's plight, the renegade scientist, and the temporal prototype. The sheer scale was dumbfounding. Analysis indicates the structures comprise a silicon-based compound unlike any catalogued, Bolt informed, a hint of awe coloring his tone. "The architecture is singular. No parallels exist in recorded galactic history." Ilara descended into the valley, her boots crunching on the pervasive dust. A new detail pricked her awareness, sending a chill tracing her spine. The ruins possessed a glow. Faint, ethereal, but undeniably present. Bizarre symbols, carved into the structures, pulsed with an inner light. Geometric patterns interwoven with flowing lines, like captured constellations. "Bolt, decipher the symbols," Ilara commanded, her gaze sweeping over the intricate carvings. Scanning, the symbols emit a low-level energy signature. Composition, organic. Traces detected of a complex biological compound. Unidentifiable. Organic symbols? The concept strained credulity. Energy signature. A form of bioluminescence, Captain, but unprecedented. The resonating frequency is disturbing. Ilara circled a towering monolith, its surface a canvas of glowing symbols. They seemed to shimmer in her peripheral vision, playing tricks on her perception. A low, almost subsonic hum permeated the air around the monolith. Disturbing, how she pressed. The frequency aligns with specific neural pathways in the human brain. Potential induction of disorientation, hallucinations, or cognitive impairment. Unease twisted Ilara's gut. Cognitive impairment? You mean it could scramble my brain? Potentially, Captain. I advise caution. Prolonged exposure could prove detrimental. Ignoring Bolt's warning, Ilara reached out, touching a glowing symbol. A shock of energy jolted through her limb, eliciting a gasp. The symbol flared brilliantly for a heartbeat, then retreated back to its dim glow. A dizzying wave crashed over her. Phantasmal landscapes, alien visages, swirling vortexes of color and light assaulted her mind. Fleeting, fragmented, like shards of a shattered mirror. She stumbled backward, clutching her temples. What was that? Captain, vitals spiking. Neural activity significantly elevated. Immediate disengagement advised. Ilara shook her head, fighting to regain focus. I'm fine. Just light-headed. She inhaled deeply, concentrating on the symbols, trying to glean their meaning. They were unlike anything she'd encountered, yet possessed a strange familiarity. It was as if they spoke to her, whispering secrets in an unknown tongue. Bolt, translate these, she requested, her voice hushed. Negative. No comparable linguistic structures in database. However, patterns are discernible. Symbols appear sequentially ordered, suggesting written communication. Ilara traced the glowing glyphs on the monolith, a strange connection forming, a sense of understanding that defied reason. As if the symbols related a story, one she could almost grasp. It's more than writing, Bolt, she breathed. It's a record. A narrative. She focused her mental energies, attempting to unlock the encoded secrets. Vivid images resurfaced, clearer this time. Implausible cities, beings of pure energy, a cataclysmic event that fractured reality. Bolt. I'm seeing things. Images, a great war. Devastation. Captain, experiencing severe cognitive overload. Immediate disengagement essential. Ilara tuned him out, her mind racing. The images gained intensity, becoming frighteningly real. The civilization that built these ruins, their ascent to power, their calamitous fall. They'd pried into forbidden knowledge, experimented with forces beyond comprehension, unleashing a cascade of destruction that led to their utter undoing. Then she saw it, a distinct symbol, radiating immense power and profound destruction. A symbol that resonated eerily with the temporal prototype pilfered by Dr. Thorne. Bolt. I know what this is, she declared, her voice trembling. This isn't just a ruin. It's a warning. The Xylosian warning. The air shimmered, heat lightning without the storm. A sunbeam, sprung from the glyph at the chamber's heart, illuminated swirling dust. A deep thrum resonated within the ancient stones, vibrating in Ilara's bones, an archaic pulse she'd never conceived. The wall's glyphs glowed softly, answering the light. Skipper, energy spiking. Bolt's voice, usually steady, vibrated with unease. Readings off the charts. Recommend immediate withdrawal. Ilara stood transfixed, ignoring him. The light coalesced, resolving into a holographic form, unstable at first, then hardening into a breathtaking image. Beings unlike any she'd envisioned materialized. Ethereal and willowy, their bodies seemed spun from captured starlight, faces serene, eyes like pools reflecting distant galaxies. They moved with liquid grace, leaving trails of scintillating motes. The Xylosians. One glided forward. Even as a mere projection, its presence saturated the chamber with an overwhelming sense of calm and learnedness. It lifted a hand, and the thrum intensified, shaping itself into articulate speech, a language that bypassed her ears, blossoming directly in her mind. Greetings, traveler, the Xylosian intoned, its voice a melodic resonance. We are the guardians of this world, or rather, its remnants. I am Xylo. Ilara forced herself to speak. I am Captain Ilara Vance, of the Earth Commonwealth. Our ship sustained damage on approach. Xylo inclined its head, a gesture conveying more than mere words. We are aware. Your vessel was struck by residual energy fields clinging to this place. Fields that were once life-giving, now a somber pall. We saw the ruins, Ilara replied, indicating the devastation around them. We activated the glyph. I witnessed events. Warfare. Utter annihilation. A flicker of sorrow passed through Xylo's luminous form, its glow momentarily subdued. Indeed. You have perceived echoes of our hubris. We were a people of profound intellect, driven by an unquenchable thirst for understanding. We sought to plumb the universe's greatest enigmas, to grasp the very essence of existence. And were you successful? Elara asked, cautiously. In a sense, yes, Xylo lamented, its tone weighted by remorse. We unearthed knowledge best left buried. We stared into the void, and the void returned our gaze. Bolt cut in, urgency lacing his words. Captain, I'm detecting a complex chronal signature emanating from the projection. This isn't just playback. It's temporally anchored. Projecting a live consciousness across millennia. Elara frowned, puzzled. Anchored? What do you mean? Uncertain, Captain, Bolt confessed. But the energy displacement is extreme. Exercise the utmost caution. Elara dismissed Bolt. What knowledge did you unearth? She pressed Xylo. Xylo's radiant gaze settled upon Elara. We discovered, it bears many names. We knew it as the Devourer. Others, cosmic parasite, entropy engine, the Unmaker. It is a force of pure negation, existing beyond our conventional grasp of space-time. It thrives on potential, on unrealized futures. On entire realities. A coldness crept up Elara's spine. Thrives on realities. We came to understand that the cosmos isn't a fixed entity, but an intricate web woven from infinite threads of possibility, Xylo elucidated. Each choice, each deed, creates a new strand, a divergent future. The Devourer seeks to sever these threads, to consume their latent energy, leaving only oblivion in its wake. And how did you initially become aware of this? Devourer. Elara probed. In our relentless pursuit of wisdom, we constructed a device, a gateway, which granted us insight into the Devourer's presence, Xylo explained, its voice waning. A device attuned to its specific frequency. A device akin to the one you seek. Elara's breath hitched. The temporal prototype? Thorn's creation? Xylo affirmed. That very device, in the wrong hands, would serve as a lodestone for the Devourer, drawing it toward your reality. A perilous instrument, capable of untold devastation. We deployed it to glimpse possible futures, to comprehend the ramifications of our endeavors. But it was too late. The Devourer recognized our intrusion, and its attention fell upon us. What followed? Elara inquired, dread tightening her chest. Our world was extinguished, Xylo whispered, its voice barely audible. Not in a blaze of glory, but in utter silence. Our metropolises, our populace, our very histories, expunged. The Devourer left behind a desolate husk, a monument to unbridled curiosity. The projection convulsed. We have expended our remaining energy to transmit this warning across the gulfs of time. To beg you, traveler, to avert the same fate befalling your world. The prototype must be destroyed. The knowledge locked within it must be lost. Surely, there has to be a path forward, Elara countered. If we comprehend the Devourer, we must be able to devise a countermeasure. Xylo shook its head ruefully. There is no countermeasure. Only preclusion. The knowledge of the Devourer is virulent. It taints and obliterates. You must avoid replicating our errors. The projection deteriorated, its luminance fading, the hum subsiding. We have shown you our end. Attend to our counsel. The Devourer approaches. The image dissolved completely, leaving Elara enveloped in the oppressive stillness of the ruins, the weight of Xylo's final words pressing upon her. Captain, Bolt stammered, his voice laced with fear. Energy levels are stable again. But I'm detecting lingering chronal anomalies. Whatever just happened, it was genuine. Elara remained motionless, the destruction of the Xylosian civilization branded onto her mind's eye. Thorn had to be stopped. Not merely to preserve the timeline, but for the very survival of existence. Bolt, Elara asserted, her tone resolute. Can you isolate Thorn's energy signature? Affirmative, Captain, Bolt responded. he appears to be proceeding toward the northern hemisphere. A substantial power source is located there. It could be a generator, or another relic. Ilara gazed into the dark expanse beyond the ruins. Then that's where we're headed. We have a world hanging in the balance. A plague's true source. Explain. Ilara's command sliced through the bridge's tense atmosphere, her mind still a battlefield of collapsing Xylosian specters. The ghostly echo of their demise clung to her perception. Bolt, his usual fidgeting amplified into a frantic dance with the console, stammered, the Devourer, Captain. It's not just planetary consumption. Xylo, the projection, he indicated that it weakens them beforehand. Weakens them how, Bolt, she pressed, impatience sharpening her tone. She pivoted in her chair, the cool metal now an unwelcome chill against her skin. Subtly, Captain. Xylo implied it meddles with the quantum weave, disrupting a planet's core energies, creating vulnerabilities. His fingers flew across the keys, conjuring a maelstrom of complex schematics on the main screen. They pulsed with otherworldly colors and cryptic symbols. Imagine it as a contamination at the source, but on a world-spanning scale. It compromises inherent defenses, leaving the planet exposed. Ilara frowned, struggling to grasp the abstract concept. Defenses against what, exactly? Xylo's spectral form flickered, then steadied. His voice, laced with the lament of a lost people, resonated against everything. Sickness, environmental breakdown, societal collapse. It thrives on fragility and engineers that fragility itself. A cold dread spiraled down Ilara's spine. Disease. The plague. Earth. The realization hit her with the force of a physical blow, knocking the air from her lungs. She surged to her feet, pacing the confined space. Bolt, initiate a complete diagnostic on Earth. Atmospheric integrity, energy field status, everything. I need to know if there are any anomalies. Bolt paled. Captain, that's outside our mandate. Earth Command. Damn Earth Command. Ilara retorted, her voice resonating within the bridge's confines. They tasked us with recovering a temporal prototype, a device Xylo claims unleashed this Devourer. If this contagion is a symptom of its encroachment, retrieving the prototype becomes secondary. Earth survival is paramount. She ceased her pacing and confronted Bolt, her gaze burning with fierce determination. Do it, Bolt. Now. The responsibility rests with me. Hesitation flickered across Bolt's face, his fingers hovering over the controls. He met Ilara's gaze, saw the unwavering resolve blazing there, and nodded slowly. Aye, Captain. The bridge vibrated with the low thrum of the Star Wanderer's power core and the staccato clicks of Bolt's actions. The view screen became a cascade of raw data, scrolling too rapidly for immediate comprehension. Ilara stood frozen, breath suspended, awaiting the analysis. Minutes stretched into an agonizing eternity, punctuated only by the rhythmic beeping of the console and Bolt's muttered frustrations. Finally, his shoulders slumped as he ceased typing. Captain, he whispered, his voice barely audible, the readings, they're catastrophic. Atmospheric instability, disruptions in the energy grid, it's as if the planet is hemorrhaging. He projected a three-dimensional image of Earth. Where vibrant blues and greens once dominated, now lurid patches of yellow and crimson throbbed beneath the swirling clouds. The energy field, typically a shimmering azure shield, flickered erratically, like a guttering flame. Ilara's stomach clenched as she stared at the image. The plague wasn't an isolated incident. It was a symptom, a consequence, a herald of something terrifyingly profound. The Devourer had already begun its work. Xylo's holographic projection seemed to fade further, as if each word sapped his dwindling essence. The process is gradual at first, he croaked. Inconspicuous, even. But it will escalate. The planet weakens, the Devourer gorges, and the cycle continues until there is oblivion. Ilara's fists clenched, fingernails biting into her skin. The weight of her duty pressed down upon her, threatening to suffocate her. She pictured her family, her friends, the billions of souls on Earth, oblivious to the cosmic nightmare slowly engulfing their world. Doubt clawed at her resolve. Could she truly stand against such a force? Was she capable of averting such a calamity? She was but one person, on one vessel, light years from home. What difference could she possibly make? But then, the haunting visions returned. The plague-ridden streets, the emaciated figures, the hollow despair in dying eyes. She recalled the oath she had sworn to safeguard humanity, to protect its future. She remembered the faces of her crew, their unwavering dedication and their trust in her leadership. A surge of defiance ignited within her. Earth would not become another Xylos. The Devourer would not prevail. Bolt, she declared, her voice steel-edged and resolute, plot a course for Thorn's last known location. Maximum velocity. We will retrieve that prototype, and we will obliterate it. But Captain, Bolt protested, Earth Command. Earth Command is not here, Ilara interrupted, her eyes ablaze with a newfound intensity. We are. And we are the only bulwark against this. She turned back to the main view screen, her gaze fixed on the fading image of Earth. The planet appeared small and vulnerable, a fragile blue sphere suspended in the indifferent void. This is no longer just about a prototype, Bolt, she murmured, her voice tight with conviction. It's about the survival of our species. She inhaled deeply, bracing herself for the perilous odyssey ahead. The odds were stacked against them. The adversary was powerful and insidious. But Ilara Vance was not one to retreat from a confrontation. A scientist, a captain, a guardian. She would do whatever was necessary to protect her home. Even if it meant defying authority, risking her life, and facing an existential terror beyond human comprehension. For in the face of unimaginable darkness, hope remained their only weapon. And Ilara Vance intended to wield it with every ounce of her strength. Resonance. Resonance, Xylo's voice reverberated, a spectral echo through the Star Wanderer's bridge. The holographic figure flickered, its tenuous form fighting to solidify. It's the sole defense. Our last card against the Devourer. Ilara stiffened, the cords in her neck tight as wire. Beside her, Bolt's gaze flitted nervously between the Xylosian phantom and the star charts illustrating their desperate course towards Thorn's final location. Resonance field? I found no mention of it in your provided data. Nor anything in our entire database regarding Xylos itself. It was a secret closely guarded, Xylo responded, the image rippling as though struggling against a phantom gale. Our desperate measure. We'd hoped, we'd prayed, it would remain unused. Unused? Ilara snapped, her tone sharp. Xylos is gone. Reduced to stellar dust. How effective can this resonance field possibly be now? It cannot restore a world, Xylo clarified, his spectral presence dimming slightly. It's a safeguard. It generates a vibrational wall. A harmonic bulwark that interferes with the Devourer's impact, warding off the energetic decay. Bolt interjected, skepticism coloring his tone. So, a planetary shield? Why wasn't it activated before? Xylo's image convulsed violently. It is far from a simple shield. It demands a living conduit. A being possessing profound empathy. A heart attuned to the planet's very essence. Ilara's brow furrowed, confusion creasing her face. A conduit? What are you saying? Some kind of psychic power source? Not quite, Xylo struggled to explain. The resonance field taps into the planet's inherent energy. But it requires a catalyst. A sentient being to amplify and channel that power, to harmonize the field, to sustain its integrity. A sudden chill prickled Ilara's skin. And lacking a conduit, the field unravels. The Devourer continues its consumption, unimpeded. Silence descended, heavy and thick, punctuated only by the Star Wanderer's engine hum. Ilara fixed her stare on the holographic projection, her thoughts churning. A living conduit. Empathy. Attunement to a planet's soul. The concept felt ripped from the pages of a fantastical holonovel, hardly a viable answer to a cosmic cataclysm. Bolt shifted, visibly uneasy. So, you're saying we need to locate someone on Earth with a powerful emotional state? More than that, Ilara murmured, her voice barely audible. There needs to be a resonance. A profound, intrinsic link. She pictured Earth, its sprawling metropolises, its vast oceans, its swarming ecosystems. Could anyone truly claim to be in sync with the totality of that intricate, vibrant world? Xylo's image steadied slightly. There is a means to determine suitability. A trial. It necessitates a fragment of the planet's core energy. A seed of its essence. And you possess this seed? Ilara inquired, a flicker of hope igniting within her. I secured a small portion before Xylo's met its end. It's contained within this projection. But heed this warning, Captain Ilara. The trial is arduous. It can be devastating. Ilara glanced at Bolt, his face drawn with worry. The weight of their mission bore down on her, immense. She had defied Earth Command, risked everything to obtain the temporal prototype. Now, faced with an even more momentous decision, one that could dictate the destiny of her homeworld. What does the trial involve? She asked, her voice betraying none of the turmoil within. Xylo's projection shimmered, and a small, crystalline object materialized within it, suspended in the air. It glowed with a gentle, otherworldly light, emitting a subtle warmth that seemed to permeate the Star Wanderer's very hull. The subject must hold the seed. Allow it to permeate them. Should they be compatible, they will perceive the planet's elation, its anguish, its aspirations, its apprehensions. They will become one with its very being. Should they fail, they will experience only disintegration. Disintegration? Bolt echoed, apprehension lacing his tone. What does that imply? It means, Ilara said somberly, their mind could shatter. Their sanity could be irrevocably fractured. She gazed at the crystalline object, its soft light now seeming a cruel facade. To redeem Earth, someone had to gamble with their very self. And the prospects of success seemed impossibly remote. And if no one proves compatible? Bolt asked, his voice barely audible. Xylo's image flickered anew, his voice a mere breath. Then Earth will endure Xylo's fate. Ilara closed her eyes, feeling crushed by the immensity of it all. Just one person, aboard a small scout ship, hurtling through the cosmic void. How could she possibly shoulder such a burden? How could she condemn someone to such a harrowing gamble? She opened her eyes, her gaze hardening with newfound resolve. There was no room for hesitation. No tolerance for dread. She owed it to Earth, a duty to preserve her home. And she would not falter. I'll do it, she said, her voice ringing with certainty. I'll undergo the test. Bolt stared, his eyes wide with incredulity. Captain, you can't. It's far too perilous. I must, Bolt, Ilara replied, her voice unwavering. I cannot ask another to jeopardize their sanity. I'm the captain. This is my obligation. But? Bolt stammered, searching for some reason to deter her. Ilara raised a hand, silencing him. Prep the med bay. I want thorough diagnostic scans before and after. And Bolt, if anything befalls me, you know what to do. Safeguard Earth. Destroy the prototype. Bolt swallowed hard, his face ashen. Yes, Captain. Ilara turned back to Xylo's projection, her heart hammering in her chest. I'm ready. Xylo nodded, the crystalline object within his image radiating with intensified light. Then, may the resonance favor you, Captain Ilara. Ilara drew a deep breath, bracing herself for the ordeal ahead. She was about to confront the ultimate trial, one that could save Earth, or obliterate her very essence. And as she walked toward the med bay, she knew, with terrifying clarity, that she was utterly alone. A desperate gamble revisited. Gaslight flickered in Hope Station's briefing room, casting elongated, restless shadows that danced across the scientists' faces. A tremor ran through Anya, unrelated to the chill of the recycled air, which tasted faintly of metal, a flavor of their imprisonment. On the primary display, the Star Wanderer, a defiant ember against the endless night, pressed onward. Anya's gaze drifted to Commander Rostova. Fatigue had sculpted lines into her face, yet her eyes remained sharp as honed steel. It seemed Rostova hadn't closed them in days. A dry rasp, Rostova clearing her throat, echoed in the confined space. "All right, people, let's have those status reports." Each department head delivered their piece: engineering, life support, communications. A chorus of near misses and cobbled repairs, a grim symphony of the station buckling under impossible pressure. When the last report faded, Rostova's gaze softened, settling on Anya. "Give it to me straight, Anya." Ilara's odds. A pause stretched. "Commander, you know the stakes. The resonance field experiment. Uncharted territory. Even with the Xylosian projection's guidance, the probability of complete neural collapse is considerable." She suppressed the precise figures, they were too crushing to voice. Rostova exhaled, a breath burdened by countless sleepless hours. "Considerable barely scratches the surface. But we're out of options, aren't we?" She moved to the viewport, her gaze lost in the swirling nebula obscuring Earth. "There's something I need to disclose, Anya. Information previously restricted." Anya frowned. "Restricted? Concerning Ilara's mission?" A slow nod from Rostova. "The public objective always centered on retrieving the temporal prototype, halting Thorn, preventing the plague. The whole truth, but not exclusively." She pivoted, pinning Anya with her gaze. Years prior, simulations began to reveal anomalies, fluctuations in Earth's core energy, imbalances within the resonance field. Initially, we disregarded them as mere static. But they persisted, intensified. We needed to decipher the root cause of Earth's weakening defenses. Anya's breath hitched. "The resonance field? But it safeguards us from cosmic radiation, from unseen horrors." "Precisely." Rostova's tone was grave. The Star Wanderer's mission held, at its innermost core, a desperate quest for a solution. A means of reinforcing that field. We suspected the Xylosians, with their mastery of planetary energies, held the missing piece. The temporal prototype represented a potential advantage, a chance to buy time. The revelation struck Anya like a physical blow. So, the plague. Thorn, were they secondary concerns? Not secondary, Rostova corrected, but conditional. If Earth's resonance field implodes, a plague becomes the least of our concerns. We would be susceptible to forces beyond our current comprehension. A beat of silence. Forces like the Devourer. A shiver chased down Anya's spine. Suddenly everything aligned, the urgency, the secrecy, the desperation. They weren't merely fighting a disease, they were safeguarding the very existence of their planet. "Why the secrecy?" Anya asked. "Why withhold this from the crew, from Ilara? Hope is a delicate bloom, Anya. And fear, a potent catalyst. We needed everyone focused on the immediate threat, not paralyzed by an existential dread. And Ilara needed to believe she was rescuing humanity, not carrying the weight of a dying world on her shoulders." Rostova's jaw clenched. "Perhaps I erred." On the bridge, the air crackled with nervous energy. Technicians, bathed in the eerie glow of holographic displays, poured over their consoles. Each blip, each wavering line was dissected, analyzed, debated. The comms officer, a young woman named Lena, struggled to stabilize the Xylosian communication array. "Commander," Lena called, her voice tight. "I'm detecting interference. Powerful energy surges emanating from the Xylos system." Rostova hurried to the bridge, Anya shadowing her. "Pinpoint the source," she commanded. Lena's fingers danced across the interface. "It's complex. The energy signature defies classification. Yet, there's a distinct connection to the Devourer. Its presence is intensifying. A curse escaped Rostova's lips. Can we compensate? Reinforce the Star Wanderer's shields? We can attempt it, Commander, Lena responded, but it's a gamble. Their shields are already stretched to their limit. Anya scanned the cascading data streams, a chaotic jumble of numbers and symbols. She grasped enough to understand the gravity of the situation. Ilara was racing against the clock. And so, too, was Earth. Back in the briefing room, Rostova's gaze was fixed on the Star Wanderer's image. She's unaware, she murmured, more to herself. She's unaware that she embodies our last hope, not solely for humanity, but for the entire planet. Anya placed a hand on Rostova's shoulder. She's resolute, Commander. More than you realize. She'll prevail. But even as she spoke, doubt corroded her conviction. The odds were insurmountable. The Devourer was gaining power, the resonance field was fading, and Ilara stood on the precipice of a trial that could shatter her mind. Rostova turned, her eyes reflecting a desperate mix of hope and despair. I can only pray you're correct, Anya. Because if she falters, then all is consumed. She squared her shoulders, her gaze hardening once more. Draft a message for the Star Wanderer. Tell her we're relying on her. And remind her of the stakes. Anya nodded, her throat constricted with emotion. She understood Rostova's unspoken words. This transcended saving humanity from a plague or thwarting a rogue scientist. This was about defending Earth, their cradle, their sole sanctuary, from a cosmic terror that defied comprehension. This was about preserving the fragile spark of life against an encroaching abyss. And it all rested upon the shoulders of one woman, adrift in the void, poised to confront the ultimate reckoning. The host. The bridge vibrated with a frenzied energy, a far cry from its usual serene composure. Shrill alarms pierced the air at irregular intervals, each cry a jagged shard against Ilara's fragile optimism. Rostova's urgent warning looped relentlessly in her thoughts, resonance field destabilizing, only a compatible host can restore equilibrium. Earth's fate hangs in the balance. She gazed at the shimmering data projections above the central console, a wild, spectral ballet reflecting the disintegration of Earth's defenses. The Devourer. A cosmic predator, its hunger stoked by Thorn's reckless meddling with time. A cold fist clenched in her gut. Captain Bolt's voice, typically buoyant, was strained with alarm. Readings are critical. Shields are collapsing, down to 60%. Ilara inhaled deeply, forcing composure. Divert every watt to the shields, Bolt. And prep a secure channel to Earth Command. I have a proposition. Bolt hesitated, brow furrowed. A proposition? Respectfully, Captain, retrieving that prototype should be priority 1. The prototype is inconsequential now, Bolt. Our world faces annihilation. We must act decisively. Her gaze locked onto his, firm and unwavering. Trust my judgment. He swallowed hard, skepticism lingering in his expression, but gave a curt nod. Aye, Captain. As Bolt scrambled to his task, Ilara addressed Xylo's ethereal form. Xylo, your comprehension of the resonance field's architecture, its composition. The holographic entity shimmered. Precisely defined, Captain. A complex energetic web, inextricably bound to the planet's life force. Our primary bulwark against the Devourer, fueled by humanity's collective consciousness. And a suitable host can re-establish it, amplify its effect. Correct. A vessel to channel and direct the necessary energy. However, a palpable unease flickered through Xylo's form. The procedure is fraught with peril. Potentially lethal. Ilara's pulse hammered, yet she fought to maintain an outward calm. I acknowledge the risks. I volunteer myself. Silence descended on the bridge, thick and suffocating. Bolt ceased his frantic keyboard taps, his fingers frozen mid-air. He turned slowly, his face a study in disbelief. Captain, you can't be serious. You're offering yourself as a living battery? A conduit for some Cosmic power? You'll be incinerated. It's the sole recourse, Bolt. Rostova's direct assessment. And someone must step forward. Ilara's tone was resolute, brooking no argument. Inwardly, however, a chill of dread crept into her bones. She was a scientist, not a savior. Yet the vision of Earth, swallowed whole by the Devourer, seared through her fear. But the dangers, Captain. Bolt stammered, his voice cracking with emotion. What if it fails? What if you don't survive? Then humanity doesn't survive, Bolt. Those are the parameters. Ilara met his gaze, her own filled with a steely determination. I won't permit that outcome. Xylo's form gained sharper definition, its spectral eyes fixed intently on Ilara. Captain, absolute certainty is required. The merging process will be transformative. Your consciousness will interweave with the resonance field itself, with the very bedrock of Earth. There exists no avenue for retreat. I comprehend, Ilara managed, her voice barely audible. Bolt raked a hand through his hair, his features etched with anguish. There must exist an alternative. We can reroute power conduits, attempt shield recalibration. Time is a luxury we lacked, Bolt, Ilara cut him off. The Devourer's encroachment intensifies relentlessly. Every moment is critical. She faced Xylo once more. Prepare the integration chamber. I am prepared. Xylo inclined its head, its form radiating a somber, almost mournful light. As you command, Captain. Follow my signal. Ilara trailed Xylo from the bridge, leaving Bolt paralyzed with shock. The ship's corridors stretched into infinity, each footstep echoing with stark finality. She sensed Bolt's unspoken plea boring into her back. But her course was set. Earth relied upon her. The integration chamber was a stark, diminutive space, dominated by a cylindrical device pulsing with captive energy. A web of cables sprawled across the floor, uniting the cylinder to various control panels and monitors. The air tasted of ozone, causing the hairs on her skin to prickle. The site of the Union, Xylo announced, its voice amplified by the close confines. The process initiates upon your enclosure within the cylinder. Prepare yourself, Captain. Predictions regarding the ensuing sensations remain elusive. Ilara approached the cylinder, her heart a frantic drum. She drew a long, steadying breath, attempting to quell her runaway nerves. This was the crux. The moment of irrevocable decision. Xylo, she said, turning to the spectral figure. The fate of the Star Wanderer, its crew. Upon stabilization of the resonance field, the Devourer will, at a minimum, be temporarily driven back, Xylo clarified. The Star Wanderer will pursue its existing objectives, or await revised directives from Earth Command. And Bolt? A highly competent officer, Captain. He will adhere to protocol. His service to Earth remains steadfast. Ilara nodded, a pang of regret striking her. She was severing ties, offering her existence for the collective good. But she knew, with unshakable conviction, that it was the singular correct act. She entered the cylinder, the hatch sealing behind her with a mechanical hiss. The interior was frigid and sterile, the atmosphere heavy with anticipation. Cables unfurled from the walls, reaching for her like metallic tendrils. Readiness confirmed, Captain. Xylo's disembodied voice reverberated in the chamber. Ilara closed her eyes, conjuring a vivid image of Earth, its cerulean oceans, its emerald forests, its teeming cities. The faces of her kin, her comrades, her confidants. All suspended precariously on the precipice of oblivion. Confirmed, she whispered. The cylinder surged to life, the vibrations intensifying with each passing moment. The cables tightened around her, their cold grip sending tremors through her frame. An incandescent light bathed the chamber, and a searing agony exploded within her consciousness. A scream tore from her throat, swallowed by the roar of raw energy coursing through her veins. Her thoughts began to fragment, scattering like dandelion seeds on the breeze. She felt herself dissolving, merging, becoming indivisible from the resonance field, from the very essence of the planet. The torment was unbearable, yet she clung fiercely to the mental image of her world, fueled by the fervent hope of salvation. She focused her entire being, her total reserve of strength, on directing the energy, reinforcing the failing barrier. And then, all dissolved into pure, blinding white. Ilara Vance, captain of the Star Wanderer, ceased to exist. She was transmuted into something transcendent. Something immeasurable, something indomitable. Something interconnected. She was the anchor. Merging. The chamber resonated with a deep, internal hum, a vibration that settled into Ilara's very marrow. Unlike the Star Wanderer's metallic shell, its walls shimmered with an otherworldly substance, a kaleidoscope of colors that danced and shifted with each inhale. Xylo drifted in the center, its luminous form solidifying into a roughly human silhouette of pure radiance. "Ready, Captain Vance?" The question echoed in Ilara's mind, a soothing counterpoint to the anxieties churning within her. A metallic tang, the taste of fear, clung to her tongue as she swallowed. "As ready as I'll get." She advanced, the air growing thick, laden with expectation and something far older, far mightier. "The resonance field awaits," Xylo intoned, its radiant gaze fixed upon her. "Prepare yourself." Initial integration can be taxing. Taxing felt like a gross simplification as a torrent of raw energy engulfed her. It was akin to being hurled into the heart of a dying star, every cell screaming in revolt. Her vision fractured, the chamber dissolving into an impossible panorama of shapes and hues. Then came the visions, not quite memories, but echoes of a reality beyond human grasp. She perceived the Devourer, not merely as a monstrous being in the void, but as an elemental force, a cosmic tempest ripping through existence. Its power was staggering, terrifying, at a scale of devastation that dwarfed all comprehension. Worlds crumbled like sandcastles, stars blinked out like extinguished candles, and galaxies spiraled into nothingness. The Devourer harbored no malice, not in any relatable sense. It simply existed, an implacable engine of oblivion. Ilara gasped, the visions threatening to drown her. She felt her consciousness fragment, shatter into a million shards. The pain was excruciating, an unremitting assault on every sense. It felt as though her very self was being stretched, warped, and twisted into an alien configuration. She struggled to center herself, to grasp at the familiar memories of Earth, the caress of sunlight, the echo of laughter. But the Devourer's presence was too pervasive, its influence seeping into her mind, tainting her thoughts, reshaping her reality. "Maintain focus, Captain," Xylo's voice urged, distant and strained. "The resonance field requires a stable point of reference." Easier wished than done, Ilara thought, as another surge of energy tore through her, assaulting her nervous system. She felt bone grinding against bone, muscle tearing, skin searing. She was being deconstructed, atom by atom, and rebuilt into something else. On the Star Wanderer's cramped bridge, Bolt observed the monitors with mounting concern. Ilara's biosigns fluctuated wildly, spiking and plummeting with alarming speed. Her heart hammered erratically, her brain a maelstrom of electrical activity. "Report!" Bolt snapped at Chen, the science officer, a young woman frantically adjusting the sensor arrays. I don't know, sir," Chen stammered, her face drained of color. "Her energy readings are off the scale. It's like she's generating a miniature sun within that chamber." Bolt cursed under his breath. He'd protested this whole operation from the very start, denounced it as reckless, a suicide mission. But Ilara, with that unwavering conviction in her gaze, had won him over, had swayed them all. Now, all he could do was watch and pray that she knew what she was doing. "Is the resonance field stabilizing?" His voice was a tight knot of anxiety. Chen reviewed the data, her fingers dancing across the console. "It's growing, sir. Expanding outward. But it's unstable. Highly unstable. It needs a nucleus." Bolt understood. Ilara. She was the nucleus, the keystone. And if she faltered... Back in the chamber, Ilara was losing ground. The Devourer's presence felt insurmountable, its power threatening to engulf her completely. She saw the devastation it caused, countless extinguished lives, the yawning emptiness it left behind. Despair washed over her, threatening to drag her under. "I can't," she whispered, her voice a mere breath against the cosmic hurricane raging within. Then, a spark of resistance ignited within her. A memory, not of Earth, but of Xylos, the tenacious life that persevered on that desolate world. A memory of the Xylosian people, their unwavering spirit, their relentless will to survive against all odds. She recalled her oath, to safeguard humanity, to defend Earth, even at the cost of everything. Summoning a surge of adrenaline, she fought back, pushing against the Devourer's influence, refusing to succumb. She clung to the embers of her humanity, memories of family, friends, comrades. She focused on the resonance field, on the power surging through her, on its latent potential. She envisioned Earth bathed in sunlight, its oceans teeming with life, its cities pulsing with energy. She envisioned a future where humanity flourished, where hope endured. And she channeled every ounce of her energy, her will, her devotion into that vision. Slowly, painstakingly, the balance began to shift. The Devourer's influence waned, its presence retreating. The visions receded, replaced by a burgeoning sense of power, of strength, of purpose. She was becoming something beyond human, something other. Outside the chamber, the monitors flickered, then locked. Ilara's biosigns, though still elevated, were no longer erratic. The resonance field pulsed with a steady, unwavering rhythm. It's working, sir," Chen exclaimed, her voice thick with relief. "The resonance field is stable." "She's done it." Bolt exhaled, unaware he'd been holding his breath. He watched the screens, his heart hammering in his chest. He couldn't say what Ilara had become, or what the future held. But for now, at least, Earth was shielded. Inside the chamber, Ilara stood firm, bathed in the otherworldly light. She felt the resonance field flowing through her, a vibrant current connecting her to the world below. She was no longer simply Ilara Vance, captain of the Star Wanderer. She was something more, a sentinel, a protector, a vessel. But at what price? The faces of her loved ones seemed distant, like faded photographs. The aroma of coffee, the caress of a breeze, these sensations seemed muted, unreal. An insidious emptiness was creeping into the spaces they left behind. Was this the toll she was paying? Her memories? Her very essence? She didn't know, but she had a duty to fulfill, and she would not falter. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and embraced the transformation. The convergence was complete. The true battle had only just begun. Shadow's attack. The thrum of the resonance field filled Ilara's nascent awareness, a palpable vibration that coursed through the Star Wanderer and, she suspected, resonated into the inky blackness beyond. It felt sentient and insatiable. She wrestled to center herself within its core, to locate the still point that would keep the chaotic power from dissolving reality. Phantasms danced at the edge of her sight, nebulae morphing into grotesque visages, planets shattering under untold stress, the indifferent gulf between galaxies. "Captain!" Bolt's voice, a tight wire of apprehension, sliced through the mental maelstrom. "We have incoming contacts. Numerous. And their signatures are alien, not in any database." Ilara honed her focus, dragging her consciousness back to the present crisis. A groan shivered through the vessel's frame. "Describe them," she managed, the words clumsy on her tongue. "They're umbral. Like gashes of night ripped from the void. Their velocity is alarming, Captain. And they appear, drawn to the energy radiating from Xylos." Bolt's report was a clipped cadence of controlled dread. "Initiating defense protocols." Klaxons howled, painting the bridge in stark crimson. On the main view screen, a swarm of amorphous shapes hurtled toward the Star Wanderer. They moved with sinuous grace, warping and shifting like animated shadows. A shot of raw fear pierced Ilara. The Devourer wasn't solitary. Perhaps these apparitions were merely extensions of its will, lured by the beacon she had unwittingly ignited. Bolt, Can you isolate a frequency? Negative, Captain. It's absent. They seem to leech energy, not emit it. Cloaking tech beyond anything theorized, or something else entirely. The Star Wanderer bucked violently as the dark entities impacted. Sparks cascaded from damaged consoles. Hull integrity at 85%, Bolt announced, his voice tight. Activating energy deflectors. Rerouting power from life support. Life support is non-negotiable. Ilara snapped, regretting the sharp tone. She needed clarity. But the merging process scrambled her thoughts. She felt stretched, her identity diffused across unimaginable distances. Echoes of her former life, her parents' faces, the aroma of rain on parched earth, the hard-won grant, were fading, yielding to an all-consuming sense of cosmic apathy. Captain, detecting shield breach attempts, Bolt pressed, his voice laced with urgency. They're adapting, learning our patterns. We can't repel them indefinitely. The ship groaned, a deeper, more resonant sound this time. A section of the view screen spiderwebbed, revealing a massive shadow clinging to the outer plates, its tendrils seeking entry points. Ilara closed her eyes, focusing on the resonance field. She needed to solidify it, to redirect its forces to safeguard the Star Wanderer. But the effort was agonizing, a searing brand-threatening obliteration. She pictured the craft as a delicate shell, fragile and exposed. And herself, the last bastion against annihilation. Bolt, divert power from the comma rays, she ground out, the words a raw rasp. Use it to amplify the shield harmonics. Focus on the points of contact. But Captain, that will sever all external communication. Do it, Bolt. Now. A heartbeat of taut silence, then the energy shields amplified, singing with the same wavelength as the resonance field. A surge of raw power enveloped the Star Wanderer, vaporizing the shadows clamped to the hull. On the view screen, the remaining figures faltered, their movements erratic. They circled the craft, probing, searching for a weakness in her defenses. They're reforming, Captain, Bolt warned. Evolving. Becoming resistant to the energy pulses. Ilara felt a wave of desperation. Control was slipping, her mind dissolving into the maelstrom of the resonance field. Memories were hemorrhaging now, replaced by a frigid, alien sentience. She locked onto Bolt's voice, clinging to it as her anchor. Bolt, deploy the plasma cannons. Captain, those are orbital bombardment weapons. They'll cripple the power grid. I know, she choked. It's our only option. Target the densest cluster. Unleash everything. A microsecond of hesitation, then Bolt's fingers danced over the console. Plasma cannons armed. Targeting, firing. The Star Wanderer convulsed as twin bolts of searing light lanced into space, obliterating dozens of the shadowy figures. The bridge plunged into near darkness as systems cascaded. Alarms shrieked, signaling critical failures. Captain! Shields collapsing. Life support failing. Bolt's shout was almost lost in the din. Ilara fought to stay conscious, her body screaming in protest. She felt the resonance field pressing in, threatening to drown her entirely. Then, with no warning, the assault ceased. The shadows were gone, swallowed by the void. Only the dying whine of the ship remained. Bolt slumped, sucking in air. They're gone. What happened? Ilara didn't reply. She could sense the Devourer's awareness, its focus drawn to the surge of power emanating from Xylos. The shadow creatures were just the opening act, a mere glimpse of what lay ahead. Captain! Bolt repeated, concern etching his face. Are you all right? Ilara focused on him, her vision blurred. His face was ashen, his eyes wide with alarm. She tried to speak, to reassure him, but the words wouldn't form. It was like looking through a smudged lens, at a half-forgotten dream. Finally, after an age, she rasped a single word, a whisper swallowed by the fading alarms. Holding. Bolt slumped, relief washing over him. Thank God. He paused, studying her. Captain, you look terrible. I need to run a full diagnostic. Ilara didn't respond, locked in a battle to retain the fragments of her humanity, to stop the resonance field from consuming her. The price of progress, she mused, was a debt that stretched beyond the stars. And the bill was only just beginning to come due. The corrupted node. The world snapped into being around Ilara, the sensation of sight returning after an absence she couldn't quite define. The familiar steel and flickering consoles of the Star Wanderer's bridge were gone, replaced by a universe perceived as raw potential, a kaleidoscope of shimmering energies woven into the very fabric of existence. Xylo floated before her, his form no longer defined by rigid angles, but a beacon of pure, effervescent light, radiating heat like a newborn star. "You are altered," Xylo stated, his voice not heard, but felt, a resonant hum within her nascent consciousness. Ilara attempted a verbal response, but only a silent pulse of thought escaped. "What am I becoming?" Xylo's luminescence softened. "You are a nexus, a bridge unlike any before. Linked to the resonance field in ways unimaginable. You are transcendent." He paused, a flicker of something akin to concern in his radiant form. "And perhaps, diminished in your former self." A cold wave of dread washed over the newfound clarity. Memories, like grains of sand escaping a clenched fist, threatened to scatter completely. Faces, names, equations, fading murmurs in an echoing abyss. "My memories," she projected, the urgency stark. "The connection remains tenuous," Xylo admitted. "The human mind is not equipped to handle such raw power. Stabilization is paramount, or you risk utter dissolution." The gravity in Xylo's tone galvanized her. The internal chaos began to coalesce, drawn together by a fierce instinct for survival, for comprehension. "Where is Bolt?" she inquired, the thought now shaping into a voice recognizable, yet touched with an otherworldly resonance. "He's working to restore minimal functionality to the Star Wanderer," Xylo informed her. "The orbital bombardment, it exacted a heavy price. He believes he can re-establish a jump trajectory to Earth, though life support and long-range comms are compromised." The thought of Bolt, alone and fighting, sparked a surge of empathy, anchoring her to her fading humanity. It was a tether, a lifeline to the world she desperately needed to protect. A low thrum resonated through the space, steadily intensifying. Then, Bolt's voice, crackling and distorted, blared through the ship's mangled comm system. "Captain? Can you hear me? I've cobbled together something resembling communication." "Bolt, report," Ilara commanded, her voice unwavering despite the tempest of energy churning within her. "We're barely functional. Jump drive is priming, but brace yourself for a bumpy ride. Life support is touch and go. And sensors are flagging some decidedly weird readings, Captain. Lingering energy signatures from those things. Fading fast. But there's something else. A rent in the resonance field, its epic enter on Earth. The Himalayas, specifically. The Himalayas. The location of a key nexus point, anchoring Earth's resonance field." Xylo's form flared with sudden alarm. "The nexus is defiled," Xylo confirmed, his voice sharp with apprehension. "The Devourer initially breached the barrier there. The energy is tainted, festering. A malignant wound upon your world." Ilara felt a torrent of the resonance field surge through her, threatening to shatter her senses. Within that surge, she glimpsed the corrupted nexus, a swirling vortex of obsidian energy, pulsing with venomous intent, like a cancerous growth consuming the planet. "We must heal it," she thought, the command resonating with unwavering determination. "We have to mend the breach. Bolt, plot a course for the Himalayas," she ordered. "Maximum velocity. We're going home." "Understood, Captain," Bolt replied, relief coloring his words. "But are you all right, Captain? You sound different." Ilara hesitated. How could she articulate her transformation? How could she convey the terrifying truth of her metamorphosis? "I'm adapting, Bolt," she finally said. "Just get us home." The Star Wanderer bucked violently as the jump drive ripped a seam in reality. Ilara steeled herself against the chaotic energy, the image of the corrupted nexus seared into her mind. "Xylo, what instigated the corruption?" she inquired, her voice a mere whisper over the ship's strained groan. "Dr. Thorne," Xylo responded, his light momentarily dimming. "His experiments, they created an aperture, a weakness in the defense. The Devourer merely exploited it. The corruption, it remains as a haunting testament to his ambition, his arrogance. The gravity of Thorne's actions, the unforeseen consequences of his relentless pursuit of knowledge, weighed heavily on Ilara. The price of progress, a debt she was now compelled to settle." As the Star Wanderer hurtled through the void, Ilara closed her eyes, focusing on the tainted nexus. She could sense the resonance field, fragile and fractured, struggling to maintain its cohesion. She knew that Earth's destiny, humanity's survival, hinged on her ability to heal that wound. But with each passing heartbeat, with each pulse of alien energy coursing through her, she felt herself drifting further from the woman she once was. And she dreaded that, in saving the world, she might forfeit herself entirely. Himalayan Stand. The Star Wanderer, a veteran of countless skirmishes, groaned its protest as it knifed into the atmosphere. Ilara, secured in the pilot's seat by shimmering restraints of light, barely noticed the buffeting. Her laser focus was fixed on the ruined research complex, a festering sore etched into the Himalayan peaks. Below, the planet's vibrant hue seemed lackluster, almost blighted. "Trajectory locked, Captain," Bolt's voice, thick with worry, burst through the comm static. "But these energy surges, they're astronomical. Are you certain about this?" A delayed response. The recollections that haunted her, or what she believed were recollections, fractured further, like a shattered mirror reflecting a warped reality. Faces, names, feelings, all dissolving at the edges. Only the fierce imperative to defend Earth remained vivid. "Confirmed, Bolt," she finally replied, her voice a deep hum that vibrated through the vessel. "Initiate immediate descent. Time is critical." The Star Wanderer dove through the cloud layers, the air howling in protest. As the clouds parted, the Himalayas loomed, a jagged, imposing wall. The research facility was a charcoal stain against the pristine canvas of snow, a stark testament to boundless hubris. Distorted energies writhed around the wreckage, painting the sky in nauseating shades of viridian and violet. "Brace for impact!" Bolt roared, but Ilara had already vanished. She materialized outside the ship, a beacon clad in radiant light, just as the Star Wanderer crunched into the snow a safe distance away. Power crackled around her, the snow instantly sublimating beneath her boots. The tainted energy of the Nexus pulsed, beckoning her like a moth to a deadly flame. But an alien and malign presence lurked within the tempestuous energy. Figures clawed their way out of the ruins, their forms twisted and corrupted by the resonance field. They were roughly humanoid, yet their limbs were grotesquely elongated, their skin a cadaverous grey, and their eyes burned with an unnatural luminescence. Serrated spines of bone jutted from their backs, forming makeshift, lethal weapons. Their movements possessed an unsettling grace, their bodies seemingly unbound by physical laws. Ilara met their assault head-on, unleashing brilliant bursts of energy from her hands. The creatures were formidable, empowered by the twisted node, but they were no match for the untamed force she commanded. She danced through the fray, deflecting blows with shimmering shields of pure energy, obliterating them with thunderous waves of force. But their numbers were overwhelming, a relentless tide. Each one vanquished was replaced by another, drawn to the chaos and the promise of power. The corruptive energy clawed at her defenses, attempting to subvert her, to bend her to its will. "Ilara, watch your back!" Bolt's warning echoed in her mind. "They're adapting to your energy signature." He was right. The creatures began anticipating her attacks, evading her blasts, and closing the gap. Their bone weapons scraped against her shields, weakening them with each impact. She felt the taint insinuating itself into her mind, whispering seductive promises of dominion and mastery. "Bolt, I need a disruption field," Ilara strained, launching a barrage of searing energy that immolated several attackers. Something to scramble their neural architecture. "Working on it," Bolt responded, his voice tight with effort. I'm trying to interface with there, whatever the hell that is. Give me a moment. Ilara redoubled her efforts, buying Bolt precious time. She focused her energy, channeling it into a laser-like beam that cleaved through the ranks of the monsters. But the exertion was taking its toll. Her connection to the resonance field faltered, her control slipping. The memories, or supposed memories, flickered and threatened to fade completely. Suddenly, a piercing whine reverberated through the air. The creatures faltered, their movements erratic, their eyes darting with confusion. Some collapsed, spasming on the frozen ground. Got it! Bolt exclaimed triumphantly. I managed to rig a modified EMP using salvaged equipment from the facility. Crude, but it should scramble their bioelectric fields. Ilara pounced on the opportunity. She unleashed a cataclysmic surge of energy, vaporizing the remaining creatures. The corrupt energy of the node pulsed in furious response, lashing out with tendrils of dark energy. She deflected them with her shields, but the impact was jarring. She felt the contamination seeping in, attempting to establish a foothold. The node, Ilara. Bolt urged. You have to neutralize it. Ilara focused her gaze on the source of the corruption. The energy node was a spiraling vortex of shadows, throbbing with malignant energy. It pulsed like a festering wound, a malignant heart. And at its core, a chilling sight, a faint, warped impression of a human face, imprisoned within the swirling chaos. Thorn. She recalled his ambition, his arrogance, his ravenous hunger for knowledge. He had unlocked the door to this corruption, and now he was its prisoner, a victim of his own hubris. Ilara raised her hands, summoning her power. This would demand everything she possessed. She locked onto the heart of the node, on Thorn's trapped consciousness, and on the burning need to safeguard Earth. She channeled all her strength into a single, unwavering beam of pure, untainted energy. The beam struck the node, and the world erupted in blinding light. The tainted energy shrieked and recoiled as Ilara's energy fought to contain it, to extinguish it. The ground bucked, the air sizzled, and the sky was consumed by white. Then, as abruptly as it began, it ceased. The light subsided, the tremors stilled, and the tainted energy evaporated. The node was gone, leaving only a patch of scorched earth. The air was crisp, clean, and the sky above was a radiant azure. Ilara stood, breathless, drained, yet victorious. She had quelled the breach, for now at least. But as she gazed at her hands, she saw them shimmering, dissolving, becoming insubstantial. The connection to the resonance field was failing, and with it, her very existence. Ilara! Panic-laced Bolt's voice. What's happening to you? She glanced towards the Star Wanderer, a tiny speck against the immensity of the Himalayas. She understood what she must do. Bolt, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Prep the ship. We need to leave. There's something else out there. Something far greater than this. As she spoke, another memory, or a glimpse of what was to come, flashed through her mind. A vast, desolate expanse, teeming with ancient stars and unimaginable horrors. And at its heart, a singular, malevolent consciousness, watching, waiting. The wellspring of corruption. The true adversary of Earth. Guardian. The air around Ilara hummed, the chaotic energy of corruption replaced by a precise, almost surgical focus. Thorn's essence, a tenuous echo within the field, offered subtle guidance, a complex equation felt as intuitive alignment. She centered herself, drawing upon the last embers of her humanity, that stubborn spark refusing extinction. Bolt, her voice, tinged with otherworldliness, cut through the comms. Recalibrate the Star Wanderer's energy matrix. Full power, focus beam. I'll transmit the frequency. Ilara, the readings are spiking. You're pushing too hard. Concerned tightened Bolt's voice. The Star Wanderer shuddered as he fought with the controls. No arguments, she insisted, her gaze locked on the throbbing remains of the energy node. Trust me. It's the only way. She dictated the sequence, prime numbers singing to the resonance field's core. Bolt's fingers danced across the console. The Star Wanderer groaned, every system pushed to its limit. A lance of pure, white light erupted, piercing the swirling gloom surrounding Ilara. She absorbed the torrent, threading it into the field's very fabric. The corrupted energy around the node shrieked, recoiling. With a final, overwhelming surge, Ilara released the focus power. The node imploded, collapsing into a silent, vacant core. The darkness relinquished its hold, revealing the majestic Himalayas, their snow-dusted peaks gleaming under the sun's pale light. The air tasted cleaner, lighter, freed from the oppressive weight. Thorn's essence, now strengthened, resonated with thankfulness. But the reprieve was fleeting. A tremor rippled through the resonance field, a jarring note that chilled Ilara to her core. Lifting her gaze beyond the atmosphere, beyond the solar system, she saw it, a wave of utter annihilation, a cosmic tsunami of entropy, bearing down on Earth. The Devourer. Bolt! Ilara's tone sharpened with urgency. It's coming. A wave of energy unlike anything, it's going to obliterate everything. What? Sensors are clear. Ilara, are you certain? Disbelief laced Bolt's reply. No time to explain. The Star Wanderer can't withstand it. Get clear, she commanded. I'm not leaving you. Bolt protested. Humanity needs you, Bolt. Please, a trace of her former self pleaded. He hesitated, hand hovering over the jump drive. Damn it, Ilara. Damn it all. He slammed the console, then reluctantly initiated the jump sequence. The Star Wanderer winked out of existence, leaving Ilara to confront the cosmic dread. The wave surged closer, a terrifying display of unbridled power. She felt its ravenous intent, its hunger for existence itself. The resonance field quivered with dread, Earth's collective consciousness trembling before imminent destruction. Ilara closed her eyes, delving deep within, seeking the nexus where her humanity met the cosmic energy that coursed within. She found it, a tiny ember of defiance, refusing to yield. Earth is not yours, she declared, her voice amplified by the field, a challenge echoing across the cosmos. She channeled the energy, not for attack, but defense. She focused on Earth, its vibrant ecosystems, bustling cities, and struggling peoples. She amplified the field, fortifying its bonds, reinforcing its protective shell. The Devourer's wave crashed against the amplified resonance field, a cataclysm of unthinkable force. The Earth convulsed, continents shuddered, volcanoes roared. But the shield held. Ilara poured herself into the effort, every last vestige of strength, every fading memory, every flicker of hope. She became the shield, the guardian, the protector. Slowly, agonizingly, the resonance field began to push back. The Devourer's wave faltered, its destructive energy dissipating against the unwavering bulwark. The tide shifted. With a final, desperate outpouring, Ilara forced the wave back, away from Earth, back into the infinite void from whence it came. The effort left her spent, depleted, almost non-existent. She felt her consciousness fracturing, her memories fading like whispers on the wind. Ilara Vance was gone, replaced by something more. But Earth was safe. The planet began to mend. The atmosphere cleared, the oceans calmed, the land recovered. The resonance field pulsed with renewed vigor, its protective embrace strengthened by Ilara's sacrifice. From that day on, Earth possessed a guardian. A silent sentinel, watching from the edge of reality, forever bound to the planet she saved. A being of immense power, yet fading into nothingness, a testament to the cost of progress, the burden of responsibility, and the enduring strength of the human heart. The stars turned in their age-old dance, indifferent witnesses to the birth of a protector. And somewhere, in the vastness of space, Bolt wept, knowing he could never repay the debt he owed the woman who had become something greater, something lost, something eternal.